Oh boy, is this a treat. Yolopark sent me all of the AMK Series Cog-Less bot mode Transformers 1. I mean, they say model kit on them, but they're also kind of like a build your own action figure system, which I really appreciate. Now, one thing before we go any further with these guys is that these are robot mode only. These do not transform. If you are thinking that these are transforming Transformers, you will be sorely mistaken. But for me, I like that. I like that because I typically enjoy the robot mode more than the vehicle or alternate form. And because we're only getting one mode, Yolopark, what they do with their action figures, because I've taken a look at a lot of their other stuff, like this G1 Optimus Prime, is you're going to be able to get more detail in the robot form, which is something that is kind of exciting. And from what I know of the other Yolopark things, a lot of the articulation is really on point. It's very expressive, very dynamic. I'm looking to see if these will retain that. Now, just before diving into these boxes, let's take a little quick look at them. So we have some character art here. We have a tiny window to show you the parts of the character. Now, there's a big giant tray inside of here that will open up, but this is overall just some nice packaging. I even like the little hologram logo of Yolopark over there. It just kind of adds some fun to it. And then on the back, it shows you the scale of these, some of the other items in this Transformers 1 line. Now, I do have the cogged bot mode. We'll go over that in a whole separate video, but I just wanted to go over the Cog-Less bot modes. I'm guessing that has something to do with Transformers 1. See, I haven't seen the movie yet as I'm filming this. So if anybody knows what that means, and honestly, it could mean something already. It's just I'm still getting caught up on Transformers lore. I've just been gravitating more to these really awesome robot designs, so bear with me while I figure this all out, but please help me out in the comment section. That'd be awesome. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna assemble one of them just so you can get the idea of what it looks like putting together one of these model kits. Let's start with Megatron. Then I'm gonna tell you what I like, what I don't like, what I would have changed, and give you my thoughts overall. Are you ready to do this? Let's go. So here I have all of the pieces for Megatron, or I guess I should say D16. So it's very symmetrical. There aren't as many pieces as the larger Yolopark model kit Build-A-Figure situations. Let's get started, shall we? So the first thing you do is pop the head onto the upper torso. That worked really well. The shininess of the face on this D16 Megatron looks really good, but there are more instructions. We have to pop on some of the bits around him. Now, when it comes to the back, you have two options. One, there's a more classic plate here. Again, very shiny chrome. I like that look. Then we also have this. It almost looks like a booster pack, a jet pack of some kind. I like the more shiny look on the robot, so we're gonna go with that. As you can see, it all meets up very well. And if I wanted to, I could remove that plate, put the jetpack on, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm gonna just leave this. The chrome shininess looks really good. The next part we have is the arms. It's symmetrical, so what I do for this side here, I will replicate for the other arm. But what you need to do is you need to put the pauldron on first, and there are two little spots that meet up just like that, and what you want to make sure is that you're putting it on the right side of the arm, because if you don't, what's going to ultimately end up happening is that you're going to obstruct the socket joint for the ball on the arm. It was floating on top a little bit, so I'm really clicking it in place there, and you can see, oh, we have a Decepticon logo there, and we have the wrist armor as well. It goes one way, and similar to the pauldron, you just want to make sure that it clicks in there, that it doesn't just float on top. And now we're gonna have to put some hands on here, but there are three different versions of hands. So the first hand we have is a closed fist. It looks like it can hold a weapon of some kind. There aren't any weapons in the box that I have, so I don't know what that would exactly hold, but we have the option. There's just more of an open, relaxed palm. Last but not least, we have a pointing finger. For this one, I'm going to give him the pointer so that he can direct his troops, or I guess the other robots, the other Transformers, to go someplace. I don't know if this is like before he turns super evil or something like that. Again, very new at the whole Transformers lore stuff. So I think for the other arm, I'm going to put a closed fist. So here is the other arm done. What we need to do now is socket these onto the upper torso of D16 Megatron. Ooh, that was an easy click. That was another easy click. There are some other parts. We need to put his chest plate on. So there we have our upper half. Now we can start socketing on some of the lower half of Megatron now. And there it is. We're going to attach the legs from that point. Now, the legs in particular are super easy. Most of the work is done for you. You just need to socket on the feet. It's on a ball socket, so there is a lot of great range of movement here. I just kind of want to try that. Oh, wow. Double jointed at the knees, which is a great thing. I'm just going to grab the other leg, and then we'll throw it all together. We'll have Megatron absolutely done. Now for the last bit, there we go. Megatron is done. D16, I should say. That is the designation on the box. This is a good looking figure. Wait, let's get him in a pose here. We'll see how much he can articulate. There we go. And there we have our smaller version of Megatron. There's some other parts in the box too. So like I said, that there is the jetpack that can go on the back here. There's also one other part. This tiny little cog, they call it. I don't know if this fits inside his chest plate or what, but it's just an extra part, and then you also have the other hand options too. So you can use this figure in a lot of different ways. Couple things that I noticed is it was a little finicky putting on the shoulder pauldrons. Those were like the most difficult part to put on. Everything else seemed to socket on rather well. And then after that, everything just kind of fit together like a dream. But we have more than D16 here to put together, so I need to get together all the rest of them, and then I'll tell you my thoughts about putting them all together, because I don't know if all of them are going to be this easy. This felt a little too easy. So here's my thoughts about putting together Elita 1. I had the same issue with Megatron and the pauldrons. These were the most difficult parts to socket on, but then also the whole arms. They were very stiff to get on. I was really cranking on the figure to put the arms in place. So that was kind of unusual, but everything else about Elita 1 went together extremely well. Bumblebee was really fun to put together because I like the really bright yellows that they included with Bumblebee. A couple things stood out putting him together. One of the most difficult parts was his forearms. Putting those together, for whatever reason, it was just really difficult. There were no pauldrons like we had with Elita 1, like we had with Megatron. But yeah, Bumblebee, or I guess what, B127, he had the forearms was the most difficult part. Even when I say they're difficult, you still know how they go on. It just takes maybe a little more force than the rest of the figure. He does have the jetpack, so you can remove this back plate, but he comes with this helmet. He comes with like a little hat, and it just sits right on top of Bumblebee's head, and I thought that was like a funny inclusion. I'm guessing this has something to do with the movie. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but Bumblebee has a hat. Yeah, if we get a closer look at his face as well, you can see that we're using some of that very shiny chrome paint, and it looks really good. I like when they lean in on those chromes. Even though Bumblebee doesn't have too much of it, when it is used, it does pop, it does stand out. I like the way that the boots have this circle on there, so we kind of get a sense of the vehicle mode, but again, these don't transform. But I still really I can't get over the hat. And here we have Orion Pax, but we all know him as Optimus, right? And what the interesting thing about this one is the hardest part about putting this one together, because I like highlighting the difficult parts about putting these together, was this little part right here by the feet. See, I socketed the foot to the leg first, and it was really hard to wedge that piece in. So what I ended up doing is removing the foot, putting the piece in, and then slapping it all back together. So if you're doing it that way, that's my recommendation. Overall, this figure, he is probably the most flexible of the bunch. He has double jointed arms, double jointed legs, he's got a lot of swivel. And as you notice here, there is a sense that when you put him in a pose, they will stick. This goes across every single figure that I've used so far. The loosest joints are the wrists, but even when I do move them, they stay in place. You have to intentionally move them if you want to pose your figure in other ways. And now I've got all of these 4 figures put together. What do I think of them? Well, I think we need to kind of put this in context of other Transformers, because bears the Transformers name, and it's going to be directly compared to the transforming Transformers that exist in the world. Now, what you need to know about the Cog-Less mode Transformers, this whole Yolopark set, is that they are about a $15 toy, and they scale roughly about the same size as a deluxe class Transformer. So you're saving money, but I still don't think the comparison is apples to apples here. The reason for that is because some people really love Transformers for the transforming aspect. It is a really cool toy when you have two toys essentially in one. But when you're dealing with these model kits, these build your own action figures, as I like to call them, is that you're given the opportunity to see more detail in the figures. You can really get a sense for what the robot mode of these figures looks like without having to worry about where all the parts tuck, twist, turn, and bend. And I was really impressed by just how well and easy these in particular went together. I think this is a great entry level into some of the Yolopark stuff, because some of the bigger model kits that have just a ton of parts can get a little overwhelming for somebody maybe younger or somebody who isn't used to building their action figure. This might be a stylistic thing for the movie, but it felt like every single one of these characters was mostly leg. It's kind of astounding just to see how much the lower half of their body takes up in proportion to their robot body entirely. Now, one thing that I would have changed across all of the figures is give each one of them like an individual item that was unique to them. I think we saw something really awesome happening with Bumblebee with the hat on there. We don't get a sense of that for some of the other figures, even though we get the different pairs of hands, we get that backpack, and then we also have that little cog that goes somewhere, I don't know. But Bumblebee is really the only one with specific items for that character. One of the things I didn't like is that when I was looking at Megatron, is that when you move him around, it feels like there's a part loose or something like that. It's mostly in the legs. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from, but it just feels really clacky and not like the other robots in the set, because this is like the one that feels the loosest. Even though the joints and everything work great, it's just something rattles in the legs and it's just kind of a little quirky and a little weird. I can kind of overlook that because the paint on him looks so amazing. That chrome on there is just, ooh, really, really good. It's hard to do a good chrome on toys, especially with paint, and I think they really achieved something with this Megatron in particular. Ultimately though, should you get these? I have fun building these. Whenever Yolopark sends one of these out, it's that perfect mix between Lego, Gunpla, and just assembling and kit bashing your own action figures together. These are just fun. It's like a building exercise along with an action figure that articulates really well. There are certain areas, and each robot has a different area that's, I guess, problematic, but that's really overselling the problem. It's just because everything else went together so easy that when I encountered just like the slightest little bump in the road, it was like, yo, what's going on? I mean, honestly, I've put together Lego sets that are more difficult than these. So the price is right. If you like the robot mode version of these Transformer 1 figures, I think this might be a good entry point, something that could stand alongside some of your deluxe class figures. And if I had to rank the figures and which ones I like the best, first would probably be the Alita 1, second would be Bumblebee, next would be a tie between Optimus and Megatron. They're both very, very similar, and if it weren't for the rattling in Megatron's legs, I think this probably would have been a lot higher because of the just amazingly shiny paint job he got. That's everything that I know about the Cog-Less mode Transformers 1 model kit action figures from Yolopark. At the time of filming these are still up for pre-order, so you can go online, find them if these interest you. Otherwise, if you're somebody who likes the transforming aspect of Transformers, and honestly, I can't blame you if you're that type of person, you might just want to pass on these altogether. But for those of you that like the robot mode, you definitely want to just explore more of what these Yolopark model kits can do, because there's just some really fascinating things with the detail, the articulation, and just the overall design, sculpt, everything. So Yolopark for me has been doing a really good job of building exactly what they are good at. If you like other action figures like Transformers, I've got Power Rangers, I've got G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, He-Man, there's like Ninja Turtles, Lego minifigs, Playmobil, I mean there's just a ton of stuff on this wall. Also, blasters, because you can't have a good action figure without a good blaster. So if you like that stuff too, you gotta follow along. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.